couple of rumors have been floating around the internet about some ultra-wide zoom lenses from Canon for the RF platform, the 20 to 50 millimeter and the 45 to 135 millimeter. And that's all we know about them. We don't know any of the embodiments. We don't know the back focus. We don't know the F number, although Digicami has speculated it's going to be an F2 or 2.8. We don't know if it's an L series. We don't know if they have an STM motor. We don't know if these lenses are quiet or they make that chirping sound like the Canon 50mm f1.2 when it's focusing. We know very little, and this is why back in January and February, I didn't cover these lenses. To me, they're a CR0, a CR1 at best. We don't know anything about them. We really don't, and the only reason I'm covering it now is we're starting to see a lot more mention of these lenses. CanonRumors.co, Digicami-info, we're seeing more and more sites talking about these lenses, talking about an imminent release. But nothing credible has come forward to validate these. These rumors aren't validated in any way. And that's the frustration. And even when Digicami covers it, they're saying, yeah, we don't really know. There's a lot of noise about this. So I caution you, don't get too excited about these. These are rumors at their very best. It could be wild speculation. We just don't know anything about the lens embodiments themselves, who they're marketed for. And in terms of journalistic integrity, what I love to do when I cover any rumor, I like to talk about the why, the what, the how. You know, those 5 questions. I hate news stories that just talk about one thing and don't dig deeper. And that's my frustration with these rumors. But because they are heating up, my job is to deliver you the news and rumors. It's the vision of my channel. It's my goals and my objectives. And maybe, just maybe, the only reason I'm covering this is because since March, we've gotten next to nothing coming out in terms of news or rumors. Things have become quiet. The year started off really well. In January, we had a lot of talk about OM Systems, Olympus, OM1. And that drove a lot of traffic. It drove a lot of interest. And it was exciting, even though you might not be an Olympus fan, still it was interesting. It was news related to what we enjoy and love very much, cameras. And then February and part of January was owned by Panasonic with their Lumix GH6, a truly incredible camera. And it built upon all that news we were getting with the OM1. And then, like the Olympics, the baton was handed on to Lumix to run with the GH6. And it created a lot of news and excitement. And then just at the end of that excitement, we got news from, well, not news, rumors from Canon Rumors saying that we were going to get a Canon R7 announced in March. And here we are, April the 7th, and we don't have anything on the R7. Not even a squeak, nothing. It's silent. And so maybe that's why I'm covering these 2 lenses and grasping for something to do, something of interest for me in my hobby. And maybe you're watching this for the same reason, because you're bored. There's very little coming out there. Spring has sprung, but things are still very brown and very few shades of grass are poking through. Although in my garden, it's sunny today. My tomato plants are coming up. I'm growing them inside. Grass is coming up. The tulips and daffodils are coming up, but there's a total lack of information. Canon, the king of interchangeable lens cameras when we look at market share, whether it's units shipped or sold, with somewhere close to 50% of DSLRs and mirrorless, have given us nothing this year. Nothing for the ordinary filmmaker, photographer, and videographer. Yes, for those professional wildlife photographers that can afford to lay out $17,000 to $20,000, we did get the RF 800mm f5.6 and the RF 1200mm f8. But for the rest of us, nothing. It's been absolutely silent. Back in October, Canon Rumors said to us that 2022 is going to be an amazing year, just like they said for 2021. But we didn't get much. And now Craig is saying we're not going to be getting any major camera bodies out this year. Canon has so many products, from APS-C, from full frame cameras to lenses, zooms, primes, tilt shifts, telephotos, super telephotos. But there's nothing. Canon is so backed up. They're so backed up because of manufacturing and supply constraints and restrictions that it would take a massive dose of colon blow 1000 to be able to get a release, to be able to get these cameras to market. And if you're picturing that, yeah, it doesn't sound very pretty. So Canon is doing what a lot of companies are doing, like Sony, like Nikon. They're picking and choosing which cameras and lenses to release. And sadly, for the ordinary filmmaker and photographer, they're often higher priced lenses that don't sell as many. And because of that, they can get more out the door because they're limited in what they can manufacture, and they have higher profit margins. So it helps protect them as a company. More revenues coming in than costs. And that's important to be able to stay in business. But for us, the ordinary filmmaker, photographer, videographer, the lack of bodies across Canon, Sony, Nikon, Pentax, Olympus, well, it's sad. There's so many rumors out there of what's supposed to be coming. It's supposed to be a great year for Sony with the A9 Mark III, the A7 R5, and maybe, just maybe, a pair of entry-level cameras, one to compete with the RP, and another sitting somewhat higher than that around the $1,400 price point. And Canon. Canon is what we expect the most out of because they're so far behind the ball when it comes to mirrorless. A bunch of APS-C cameras on the RF mount, a bunch of full-frame mirrorless cameras, and then of course there's the flagship, the Mount Olympus, the pinnacle of Canon's flagship or of their mirrorless line is that Canon EOS R1. We're expecting at the very least, a development announcement sometime between October and December. But there's nothing. No hints of rumors for cinema cameras like the two 8K cameras that we were supposed to be getting back in 2021. 8K Super 35 and an 8K full frame, along with a 4K camera that could do up to 180 frames per second in wide mode, 240 frames per second in fast mode. We haven't heard very much. And even that list that Canon Rumors put out about a year ago, while it's been proven to be accurate in what is coming out, with a slight change in some of the aperture settings or specifications, it's been very slow. They've been coming out slowly over the past 1.5 to 2 years, and not when they were supposed to be coming. We're supposed to be getting a lot of those lenses in the first half of 2021. And here we are, halfway through, more than halfway through 2022. So I apologize. I'm sorry for bringing what really amounts to being the lack of any sort of news on lenses, anything credible that goes into the why, who they're for, whether they're an STM, whether they're a professional grade. For me, for the ordinary filmmaker, I look at the 45 to 135 as being not wide enough for landscapes, but at 135, 140, and 150, to me, that is when telephotos and super telephotos start to get interesting. It's a tease. To me, it's not exciting enough. And the 20 to 50 millimeter, and even if both of these are f2 or f2.8, if they're wide open like that, to me, I'd rather just get a bunch of primes. I already have the 50 millimeter RF f1.2, but what about a 20 millimeter, a 35 millimeter? To me, for these focal lengths, I would be much happier with a prime. Once we start to get above 50, the rumor that I put out yesterday about a 60 to 600 or a 70 to 700, to me, those are far more interesting. Sure, they're not wide, but they're good enough they can be used in most any telephoto situation you can imagine when you're doing wildlife. At 60 millimeters, you can get up close and do quite a wide shot if you need to, but at 600 or 700 millimeters, you can get in, you can get up close and personal without your subject even knowing you're there. And those are magical to me. But for me, myself, 20 to 50 and 45 to 135 don't really interest me much, as Shania Twain used to say. But what do you think? Do these focal lengths interest you? And what would be the lens embodiments that you would look for in these lenses? The back focus, the f-stops, the length of these lenses, the weight. Let me know in the comments section down below. And I'm sorry for my rant. This was more therapeutic for me than it probably is for you, and maybe the one other person that's still watching. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Your subscribes really do help this channel grow. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.